of course referring to Gennady Golovkin's pay-per-view debut against David Lemieux last year, which did anywhere between 95,000 to somewhere around 150,000 buys. That is a huge disparity between the two. And for Golovkin to stand up and say, I want this, I want that, and I'm going to get it, that's not going to be the case when they go to the table and they negotiate that fight. But I do feel that Golovkin wants the fight bad enough that whatever demands are feasible to make, he will give in to them. If he gets a payday that is going to be fair but not proportional, much like how he demanded a 50-50 split of Andre Ward and a catch weight of 164 pounds, he will give in to that too. Because this is the biggest fight that Golovkin can potentially make, and a lot of people don't realize this about Gennady Golovkin, but the guy is turning 35 years old next year. He's not exactly on the right side of his prime. And who knows how much longer he's going to continue to compete. I mean, he could very well continue to fight at middleweight for years to come because of how bad the division is. But this is a fight that he wants to make. And I think that at this point now, HBO, Golden Boy, K2 Promotions, all the parties involved are going to do what they can to get this fight made. And they are going to try to get the fight made by this September. I don't think marinating the fight any longer is going to make it any bigger than it already is. There is nobody else left for Alvarez to fight. Golovkin has pretty much cleaned out the 160-pound division of whoever else they can find that can be marketable. I mean, he just fought Dominic Wade a few weeks ago, and he was a 100-1 underdog or something like that. It was unbelievable. So these guys are going to be maneuvering towards each other, and I think that it's going to happen. I would really, really hope it does. But the big question now comes down to who will win. Now, I've said this about Canelo Golovkin since it seemed even possible these guys would be fighting each other. This is a 50-50 fight. No matter what the fanboys say, no matter what the haters say, people are all over Golovkin thinking that he's going to knock Canelo Alvarez out. Look, you very well may. The possibility that Golovkin is a better fighter than Canelo is possible. But a lot of people are not writing the possibility that Canelo Alvarez may just very well be more prepared for a fight of this magnitude than Gennady Golovkin is. In Alvarez's career, he has fought a lot of different fighters. He has fought guys like Floyd Mayweather, Erislandy Lara, Austin Trout, James Kirkland, Alfredo Angulo, and while he manhandled Amir Khan, he fought him, Miguel Cotto as well. That's a lot of looks that he has had to go up against over the course of his career. He's had to deal with boxers, he's had to deal with punchers, he's had to deal with guys that absolutely do not want to engage with him. He's had to deal with guys whose speed has been a problem and he's had to make adjustments. And he's also dealt with fighters who've realized their only chance of beating him is going right at him. Gennady Golovkin has not fought that wide variety of opponents. And I think that is an advantage that Canelo has. He has been fighting the same type of opponent, and I'm speaking about Golovkin, who already come into that fight outmatched. Their strategy is to survive and hope that they can land some type of miracle shot to beat him. And they only fight one way. They try, if they can't outbox him, and they figure out that they don't have a plan B, they try to land that Hail Mary shot. Golovkin has not fought a guy like Canelo Alvarez who can sit back and counter, who can throw good combinations. Canelo's a very good combination puncher. And Canelo can box a little bit. If you think that these two guys are going to are going to charge at each other like wild bulls and try to take each other's heads off, you're wrong, because both Canelo and Golovkin know how strong each other are. These are not guys that are just going to come off of the street to fight each other. They've sparred with each other in the past. And believe me, they have been watching each other's fights very, very closely over the course of the last year or so. Because they know, just as well as I know, that they are going to inevitably fight. So, whereas Gennady Golovkin, I don't feel has fought a guy that had, like Canelo Alvarez, mainly because the middleweight division doesn't have a lot of really, really good fighters. I do think that Canelo Alvarez is going to be a little bit more prepared mentally, being on this big of a stage. He's been up against some of the best names of the sport, the most recognizable names of the sport, like Mayweather and Cotto. And he's not going to be the kind of guy that is just going to cave in when he gets hit by a punch by Triple G. And he's a guy that can hit Triple G just as hard. You know, we've seen Triple G tear through guys as if they were made of paper, and in some cases you can make the argument that they were made of paper. His competition has been absolutely terrible. And Canelo Alvarez is easily the best person Gennady Golovkin has faced. I can't say that about Canelo Alvarez in regards to him fighting Golovkin. Does that mean that Canelo Alvarez will win? Maybe, maybe not. It's a 50-50 fight. It is going to be a good fight, but I do feel that it is going to be it is not going to be a lock. There is not going to be a lead pipe lock on Golovkin Alvarez as there was for Alvarez Khan, or Golovkin versus really the majority of the opposition he has fought since coming to the United States. This is going to be a tough fight for both guys. And I think that when the fight does get made, Golovkin will be a very, very slight favorite. And he's very popular among the general public. The media loves him. And people may think that Canelo may be stepping up too high. I'm the one that kind of thinks in the middle that these guys are both taking an equal risk fighting each other. No one is taking a bigger risk than the other. And I think it's going to be, again, hopefully it's going to happen this year. There have been talks even this week that Jerry Jones wants to have the fight at AT&T Stadium. And it would be a huge fight in September. That would be a huge pro-Canelo crowd. That would be in Dallas. I think it would be a good crowd. I think it would be an amazing fight to go to. But I do think that the fight between those two, that would be a pro-Canelo crowd in Dallas. Not to mention the shenanigans that may possibly happen with the judges. I mean, if you guys watched Canelo Khan last weekend, I think the majority of the people who were watching the fight had Khan ahead, significantly ahead, going into the sixth round where he was practically killed by Canelo Alvarez. However, Glenn Trowbridge, who is a suspect judge to some people, somehow was able to have Canelo Alvarez ahead in the fight going into that last round. Now, I myself personally had Khan winning all 5 rounds going into the 6th. But who knows? I don't even want to entertain that possibility because it would take away from what could potentially be a great night in boxing. But this is a fight that is going to happen sooner than later. All big fights do. If you have any doubt that this fight will happen, just remember that if a fight is big enough and there are no other avenues for other fighters to go, they make the big fight, the one that nobody thinks is going to happen. Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao exhausted the 147 and 154 pound divisions over the course of practically 6 years until they decided to fight each other. They fought everybody they could until there was nobody left but them. Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson had to come together because it was a fight that just had to happen. Same thing with Lennox Lewis versus Mike Tyson. Lennox and Mike were the two biggest heavyweights at the time. They were not as good as they used to be, particularly Tyson, but it was a fight that had to happen. It was too big not to. Too many people demanded that fight. Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez will fight. And if it is as big as it is now, it is going to happen this year. The question is, who is going to give in to what? Will Golovkin give in to Canelo's demands for weight? Will he agree to the split of the purse? Will Canelo, considering he makes so much more than Golovkin, he commands so much more of the sport than Golovkin does, will he be able to let ego be put aside to convince Golovkin to make the fight with him happen? There are plenty of people that believe they will not fight this year, but I just don't see who else they can fight. I think that because they're both under the same roof with HBO, they have promoters that have a very friendly relationship with each other, Tom Loeffler and Oscar De La Hoya, that it is a plausible and more possible fight than, for example, Mayweather-Pacquiao, because Bob Arum absolutely hates Al Heyman and Floyd Mayweather for that matter. And that made the fight difficult to happen because they had so many other avenues they could go to make money. Saul Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin do not have that luxury. All roads lead to each other, and I believe that road is going to come to a head this September. So if Showtime has a big boxing weekend coming up, and HBO doesn't, and Golden Boy Promotions starts teasing a big announcement for the fall, it absolutely has to be Saul Alvarez versus Gennady Golovkin. If Floyd Mayweather doesn't come back at the end of the year to fight Danny Garcia, which a lot of people think he is going to do, and if he does not come back in September, then we are going to get Saul Alvarez versus Gennady Golovkin. And the fight fans around the world are going to get the fight that they feel they need to see now. And we are going to get a definitive moment on who will carry the crown of this new era after the end of both Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather's career. It has not been a good year for fight fans. To be totally honest, we have not had a large assortment of good fights. We've had pretty bum fights this year. But if we get Alvarez Golovkin, and we get it sooner than later, it can make up for all of the bad, especially more so if it is a fight that we will remember for years to come. Well, that'll about do it for me today. So thanks again for listening to the inaugural episode of the BoxPod. And again, I'm Danny Howard, and I am happy to be back on the air to talk boxing with you guys. If you want to contact me directly, you guys can look me up on my Facebook page or follow me at Twitter at dbbox625. You can also follow my work at the Boxing Tribune at boxingtribune-news.com. You can get the best analysis of upcoming fights from some of the best writers on the planet. And on top of that, hey, you can always tune into the BoxPod every Thursday. Thanks again, guys, and I hope to hear you soon. Y'all have a good one.